welcome to the Forefront, the show where we aim to bring important topics to the forefront. And I'm your host, Faith. And on today's episode, we're going to switch it up a little bit from the last episode, and we'll be talking about relationships and dating in 2021. But before we do, let me introduce our guests today. We have the lovely Andrea and Slay with Slice with us today. Do you know what? Let me let you guys introduce yourselves. Do you want to go first?
Absolutely. So it's at That Goddess Energy, and I'm a feminine energy and feminine empowerment coach. So I talk a lot about self-love, dating, relationships, and yeah, that's my thing. So I'll pass on to my lovely girl.
I'm Slay with Slice. I am a Vedic astrologer and a spiritual influencer that I kind of invented for my bio, but that's what I do. I talk about feminine energy and where it transcends out of that.
Yeah, people say I can't help it because I'm a Scorpio.
It's bullshit.
They're just full of shit.
People DM me going, "What's it like to be a Gemini? This is happening." I'm like, please don't ask me that really dumb question. It's like saying, I don't know, I'm 26 years old and I'm in this situation. I don't know. There needs to be more given, because your whole personality isn't based on one sign.
Yep.
Your whole personality is based on the entire chart. So it's a, what's the word I'm going to use? It's a pet peeve. Massive pet peeve, because I've studied it.
Well, maybe we'll have to go into depth on
astrology.
A different episode, maybe, because this sounds, I'm already like, I've never heard of that before.
Yeah.
I have to say.
A lot of people haven't.
Yeah. But I'd love to know why you ladies do what you do. Obviously, you've introduced yourselves a little bit, but I want to know, like, we'll start with you. What made you go into coaching and talking about femininity and all these wonderful things?
You know what? I think that it just sort of happened for me as a natural progression. I didn't set out upon it. We were talking a little bit about this earlier when the cameras were off. But for me, going into feminine energy and femininity and all of that stuff, you know, it was a natural thing that happened as a result of me looking and being very honest with myself, and looking at the results of some of the things that I was seeing in my life and trying to understand why I was seeing this. Why did I invite this kind of person around me? You know, what happened to me that allowed for these situations to occur? And then when I did that, I started seeing so much around me in the people that I know, and then I started looking back even deeper to my childhood and, you know, family stuff. And I started seeing all of the things that I was understanding about myself playing out in other people around me, and I was like, right, I understand why now. I understand why these things happened to me. I understand why I attracted a certain type of man into my life, why I attracted a certain type of friend into my life. It's all together. And then in seeing that, I was like, oh my God, I really want people to understand this. So that's why I made my page. It was mostly for me to keep reminding myself daily, because as you know, you need to keep, you know, the brain doesn't work, you tell it something once, you have to keep doing it. So my page was, it was mostly to program myself, but as it grew and I had other people reaching out to me and asking for help and suggestions and so on and so forth, that was how the coaching started. But it was mostly a response to just seeing something wrong, analysing what was going on, and then thinking, right, how do I change myself so that this never ever happens to me again?
Do you know what's interesting about that? Because people go through, obviously, every situation is unique to us, but the situations are not unique to us at the same time. And so many people go through, you know, defining moments. They go through turmoil and heartache and whatnot, but they don't change. What I want to understand is, what was it about you in that period in your time that allowed you to be able to look holistically and also look outside of yourself? Were you reading things at the time? Did you happen to stumble across somebody who changed your perspective? I'd love to understand why.
What it was at that time. I think it's some elements of it is like a personality type. You know, because I feel so deeply. When I'm hurt and I'm really hurt, it's my natural thing to not ever want to feel like that again. You know, I'm not the kind of person that just goes from pain to pain to pain and just, you know, careers on through. Like, I need time to reflect upon that. So I think it was my personality type that allowed me the space to like self-reflect. I've always had that ability to look at myself. Some people need a bit more guidance with that. So there was that. But then in doing that, I think that also I was lucky enough to have been introduced to some like online gurus that I had already known, but I wasn't really taking in. So people like, oh my God, there's a Rebecca Lynn Pope that I used to listen to.
Oh yeah, she's amazing.
Yeah, she's fantastic.
If you are new to her, you'd feel a little bit uncomfortable.
Yeah, and that's how people feel about me now, strangely enough. People like, you know, hear some of the things I have to say, and perhaps it can be a bit abrasive, but actually it's not when you actually take the time to listen to why I'm saying what I'm saying. It makes sense, you know, and deeper than sense. I think some things are more important than just pure logic. But anyway, so there was that. I had the foundation of knowing that these people existed. And then when I reached a point where I was like, right, something needs to give. There's something that's not adding up in how I am presenting myself in the world, and the results I'm getting. Something's not working, because what I think I'm doing versus the results I'm getting, it's not.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I had to really be honest with myself and be like, right, what's up? And then in doing that, I delved deeper, started cutting out things that were toxic people, behaviors, and then I just sort of found my groove. And then in doing that, you connect with other people. This is the magic of doing this kind of stuff, because I want people to understand that when you start feeling like you're in your groove, the natural progression of that is connecting with other people that are in a similar position to you. So it's a great thing, you know, when you just decide like, right, I will never ever have this in my life again. I will never feel this again. Suddenly a whole other world opens up to you, and you start meeting people that affirm that new worldview.
You mentioned something about finding your groove and finding your people, and I guess in reality that journey to finding your new tribe is probably very lonely. And would you say that applies to you?
Yeah.
And would you say in your coaching, do you tell people, listen, there's going to be moments where you're going to feel lonely.
Yeah.
You might want to regress back and go to where it's comfortable. But do you reassure them and let them know in time that, you know, that tribe will come? Or how does that whole process work?
Of course, and I feel as though you're speaking because you know.
Yeah.
I can tell.
Yeah.
I can tell from what you're saying that you understand that process, because you're probably either in it or you have been through it. And I'm still in it. You know, I'm still finding the people that work for me now. Like I did a live just on my page literally a few days ago after I was posted on I did a podcast and I was posted on Made You Think, and they took little snippets, and I had a lot of people like saying a lot of negative things about me based on what I said. Whatever, I don't care. But the point being is that I wanted to let the women who listen to me know that you are going to encounter people that, like, if you stand for anything, you're going to have people that disagree with you, like, or you know, want to discredit you. It doesn't matter what you stand for, but the point is that you actually stand for something. So just know and understand that when you decide to show up in a different way and you're strong in that, and you're not going to bend in that because you believe in what you say, you're going to have opposition, but that's a good sign. It means that you're doing something that's strong enough for people to care enough to actually have something to say either for you or against you. So for me, it's a good thing. It makes me understand that I'm doing something right, and it helps me find my tribe. Because if I was just being nothing and saying nothing, how am I going to find people that are like me? I need to say something that it's like showing a part of myself to allow my true self to find other people that like my true self. No, and if other people don't like it, that's great, because it means that then I know that there will be people that do.
Sure.
Yeah.
And what about you, Sasa? How did you become this amazing, you know, a Vedic astrologer, spiritual coach, all these wonderful things?
It's more so, anytime I go through something, I try to look for the reason why.
Yeah.
I try to look for, I like people. I like understanding people. I like to understand myself. So it's kind of like I'm on a little journey. Have you read The Alchemist?
I haven't.
So good.
Yeah. Okay, so I feel like I'm
constantly on
I'm
my
smack bang
reading
in the
list.
middle of finding my treasure, basically. And that's where I'm at. I'm following the omens. I don't force anything in my life.
When you say following the omens, what do you mean?
Oh, you have to follow.
If you can,
It's kind of like following the signs of your own legacy.
I see, okay.
Yeah, so being intuitively led throughout your own life. It's part of the feminine. It's understanding the subconscious of yourself and the subconscious of the world. I think you only stop to notice it and pay attention to it once you've gone through something, because you're willing to start to look at the deeper reasons that you're not just living. And so in tune, I understood that every kind of pitfall that I've ever been through is my foundation to knowing what to say when I'm asked a question. Does that make sense?
Right, yeah.
The fully embodied feminine experience, which is when you kind of understand it from that spiritual standpoint, everyone has a legacy. You just have to understand yourself.
And how did you actually become spiritually awakened and conscious? Have you always been like that? Was it your upbringing, or?
When I was a child, my nan was very religiously based. I have a negative Jupiter in a good house. My nan would be, she'd talk about the Bible and everything, and I was naturally combative towards it. I was naturally like, what about the dinosaurs? I was naturally the type of person to fight it and ask questions. However, it's actually good to ask questions because you're not just being told something to just believe it. Because if you don't ask questions, how can you believe it? Because you have to go. Yeah. So throughout that, it was like I'm an atheist, I'm an agnostic, I'm this and blah, blah, blah. And what has happened is the journey through trying to discover myself has led me to Source, God. God has no ego. He doesn't care what you call him. Every belief system has a different name. For me, I call it Source, God, whatever I feel in the moment. But learning about myself, I discovered that God sits within me. Venus, Aphrodite in the Greek culture, they honour the feminine in so many different ways, but Christianity likes to keep the feminine because there's power in sexual alchemy. The sexual alchemy of the feminine and what the feminine gives to the masculine makes you understand, we are powerful.
Yeah.
They don't want powerful women running around. No, they don't. Because then men have to actually work for their masculinity.
Yeah, 100%.
They have to honour the feminine, and when we honour ourselves, we then honour the masculines who are strong enough, who deserve us because they protect us, they honour us themselves, and that's why there is this kind of balance. If you keep the feminine disempowered, what do you naturally do to the masculine? As a society, you keep the masculine disempowered.
Do you know what? That leads very nicely on to my next question, and you've obviously painted a very good picture there about the disorganization and disorder in the feminine and the masculine. And with that in mind, where do you think we're going wrong today when it comes to relationships? Do you think it stems from that unbalance of the masculine and feminine? How would you really
What would you call a relationship?
A relationship?
Yeah, what do you call a relationship?
An existence of two people living life and its experiences together.
A relationship is a moment of relating.
Right.
We don't know how to relate anymore.
Yeah.
Relating is being able to feel safe in yourself, to be open to connect with another person. If we don't know how to connect because we're living in a society where it's very judgmental, it's very toxic, we're always here with an armour on.
But have we not always lived in a judgmental society?
I
feel like today we're more unjudgmental than ever.
No,
in some ways.
Right.
We are more so. Think about it, you can pick up your phone and see judgment on an app. You can see how we judge a celebrity and the way she looks, what the perfect body's like. We have been constantly programmed to the idea of perfection.
Right.
Yeah. You go on certain, you go out and there is this idea of what a woman should be. There is an idea of what a man should be. And then we have to align with all these behaviours and all these instead of just accepting who we are, we have never been so accessible.
Yeah.
Society's always been judgmental, but we've never had this much access.
Yeah, the internet. But I know what you're saying in the sense that right now everything is more accepted than it ever has been. Like in some ways, like when you think about LGBT
like this
and
hyper acceptance of absolutely everything,
anything and
if you were ever to give any pushback, then you are some kind of villain. You are living the dark ages. Like there's a lot of condemnation that comes on.
But you see, it's the judgment.
It's a judgment.
So it's like, in some ways, it's like, but then the people that say these things, you know, they advocate for like freedom of whatever, but then a lot of the times some of the people who are in those movements are so against anybody who does not think the way they do.
It's such a strange,
but that's
more judgment.
It's based on judgment. You have to think of how people's
Mm.
brains are wired and how people's brains work, and this is why it's a paradox. Life is a paradox. You focus on love, you become more loving. You focus on hate, you become more hateful.
Yeah.
If you're focused on the people that do things wrong, you're having to point out the things that they're doing wrong.
Yeah.
So you become what you dislike. You are it.
Talking about people doing wrong, where do you think men are going wrong today?
I'll see back.
I'll start with you, Andrea, because you had the most visceral reaction just now.
Well, where do I think men are going wrong?
Yeah.
You know, as a woman, like, I find it's difficult for me to speak on manhood. I don't like to try and even attempt to define manhood. I'm not living in a male body. I don't identify as a man. So understand that when I answer these kind of questions, it's with like a respectful distance, because I'm not a man. I never will understand what it's like to wake up and have to navigate this world as a man. So, but as a woman, you know, what I can tell you about my experience, I think that, and my like view, you know, I can see that. And I only started seeing this once I started engaging with my own femininity and my own womanhood. It's like, I feel as though there's this like, and I'm speaking purely like intuitively right now, I feel like there's this grey area that we are in, men and women, a lot. And I think that that's what's causing us a lot of turmoil, because we're not quite operating in our natural flow a lot of the time, men and women. I think we don't know what, we have so many options these days about how we're going to present. And I'm not saying this is a bad thing, by the way. I'm just saying that because of the introduction of so many options about how you behave and how you're going to present, and am I even a woman? Am I pansexual? Am I trisexual? Am I this? So you start really not feeling as though you have an alignment with anything. You question everything, and the things that you are naturally, I think, are now being questioned. So people don't want to erase the normality of any particular gender, you know? So I think that's creating this grey area where people aren't really understanding that it's okay and it's fine to operate in a feminine predominant energy or a masculine. And I feel like men don't know that it's okay. Like, it's okay. Healthy masculinity, I think, is demonized when it shouldn't be.
From my opinion, is that where I think this is one of the things that I think that men are going wrong, and I think that they are allowing women to dictate what their masculinity is supposed to look like. And I don't think that there's enough healthy examples of masculinity, which is why you've had a whole, you know, it's birthed a whole subculture of very toxic men trying to tell other men how they ought to be. And I'm not going to say I know what a man should look like. I'm not a man, never will be. But I can only say it from a woman's perspective, how I interact with men. And I think a lot of men are insecure because women have made them insecure, and they've allowed women to make them insecure. I think a man should sort of dance to the beat of his own drum and not be so influenced
but
by...
I think, if I can say something on that, you know, as a woman to make you insecure, like, it shouldn't be. It shouldn't be working.
Can I jump in? Okay. From the moment a man is a boy, yeah? What's the most powerful force that he will witness?
His mother,
but also women.
True.
Yeah, you've got teenage boy, girl next door. What does teenage boy do? he idolises teenage girl next door, yeah, because she invigorates him. The woman is such a powerful force. Yeah. Men are terrified of us.
Yeah.
They're terrified of doing something wrong.
Yeah.
They're terrified of offending us. They're terrified of, what if I'm not enough? You see all sorts of stories of teenage boys going, oh my God, and they can't breathe. Yeah. Whereas women, we don't react like that to men. We don't.
I mean, I don't know if I fully agree with that, because a lot of women do things for man. And
no, women are scared of man, you mean?
No, but we may, because we are here in our programming as a woman, when we love someone or like someone, our programming is to appease.
Right.
Yeah? It's even with our friends. We see our friends upset. What do? We want to make it better. We want to please them. We want to make them feel better. So when a woman is attracted to a man, we want to please him. But we don't see a man on the street and feel like, no, that's not a feminine thing to do. We attract men. Men are attracted to us. You have to see women relate to men as if they are misbehaving women. That's the first point of where they go wrong. You should be behaving like this. Why? From what standpoint? We women, when we start to look at how we want them to act, we want them to be more like women.
Yeah.
Well, this goes on to my next question: is where do you think women are going wrong today?
They're
you don't know the difference on the head.
Okay, men and women are fundamentally different.
Yeah.
Fundamentally different. Men are focus-based, we are gatherer-based. We've got 1,000 tabs open in our brain at one time. If a man is talking to us about his day, he just thinks that he's telling us about our day. Whereas what we're doing is going, okay, there's that person and then there's that person. And now I've figured out what he wants for Christmas off of one conversation. Men can't do that. They cannot do that. We have to honour how different we are.
Exactly.
To basically learn how to relate.
Exactly.
And why do you think, from where I'm standing, there's that honour aspect has gone out the window?
Because we're too busy trying to fight. We're too busy trying to make the man behave in a way that you understand, rather than accepting the ways that he naturally is. You know, it is. Instead of looking at a man and thinking, right, like, and the thing is, it's sad because to me, you know, the foundation of all of this stuff, like, why is it so important? And why does this hit home for me to the point that I want to bother to do and talk about this? It's because it's the family. And when you, like, kids are coming in, and if you don't have the correct family, it's so hard for you. And I'm not saying it's impossible to thrive, but it becomes tough. When you have a man and a woman that don't really understand what it is to relate to one another, and you have a child in that, this is how the problems keep coming. So I'm saying if we can get this right, then we can have a generation that doesn't have these kind of holes in their understanding. Women want men to behave like women. Men want women to behave like men. It's like, stop doing that.
I don't agree with that.
I do see where you're coming from, but I think on a
time.
subconscious level where you're not really processing what you're feeling, I do think that we want the same out
we
of
get
our
confused.
opposite. But then when we're presented with it, there's a fight against it.
Because deep down we want our natural counterpart. Feminine energy wants masculine energy. It's just the polarity of life. It just is. You want it, but then when you're confronted with it, if you don't understand it, you start trying to compute their behavior like you're seeing it from you, like what you would do or what you would want.
You become manipulative.
Right.
Okay, the reason men don't want women to act like women is because men are attracted to her receptivity. Men are attracted to her ability to receive.
Is that another word for agreeability?
No.
No.
If a man provides for you, how open are you to, if he says, I want to get you a gift, and a woman goes, no, don't worry, don't worry. He doesn't like it. He likes a woman to be in a receptive energy. It's like the sun and the moon. You pull it back to basics.
See, the reason why I said that is because from conversations I've been having with men, they kind of, the way that they describe that is they want a woman that is agreeable. I know it sounds horrible, but that's how
they just want a woman to make sense to them. And that's where it's different. Because we're so feeling based. that when we communicate, we don't communicate effectively. Women don't communicate effectively. Men don't. I mean, and I mean this in the nicest possible way, and I don't want to offend all women, but women don't listen. Women don't listen. They will ask, and I will ask you guys if you agree with this. When you're having a conversation with a woman and she asks you a question, do you sit and ponder to try and look for the answer? And then what a woman will do is then go, instead of waiting and being patient for your answer, she'll then ask you another question. And then she'll ask you another question. Because that's how we pull things out of our brain. ASAP, men are focus-based. We ask them a question. We have to wait for the answer because I have to physically go and look for the answer.
Sitting and thinking.
Yeah.
Exactly. Exactly. We are different, but we as women, we are trying to take over everything. Okay, even with I love the femininity movement. But what the femininity movement has done, which I've tried to stay away from as much as possible, other than the random quotes that I put, is I need a man to come and make me feel soft and feminine and this and that. No, you need to learn how to be receptive.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because if you don't learn how to be receptive, you're inviting in the most toxic men because you don't know how to be receptive. You need masculine energy to go and force into your energy. Does force equate to love? No. Patience and understanding, but that takes a level of receptivity first. When I pull it back to basics, does the moon create its own light?
No.
It reflects from the masculine source, which is the sun, and it gives back and reflects back. Your focus, the man can give you whatever. If you're not open to it, it's not going to work. So it's like when I put up a post once of a girl jumping around her boyfriend because he bought her a bunch of flowers, just a small bunch of flowers. She jumps all over him and acts as though he's the best thing since sliced bread. You give him that gift. That gift is, I adore you because you do this for me.
Yeah, I do feel men love that.
Yeah,
They love
thrive
it.
off
However, can I just add a caveat? Sorry, ladies, but please give your praise where it's due and where it's deserving. You know, any crumb isn't necessarily what you need to jump up and down for. I'm not saying in this occasion.
No.
But I'm just saying in general, because I see this a lot, and I spoke on this before, and people didn't like it. The fact that I was saying, just because somebody does something doesn't mean that it's good enough. Do you know?
Yeah.
Like, it's important to understand that distinction as a woman, because otherwise any crumb that comes towards you, you're impressed. And it's not about that. When you, like, some of what I speak about is like more the real life ramifications of things like vetting. How do you know which man is a man coming towards you that really wants you versus just
because
a guy?
when you're in pure receptivity, you're able to discern because you've done that level of is receptivity is understanding what the body reacts to.
Yes.
Yeah.
And this is why.
On that point,
Yeah.
just to give some of the ladies watching who don't know what some of these things are that they're supposed to vet and look out for, just maybe give us let's say three things that will allow women to understand that a man is truly pursuing her with real intent.
With true intent.
Yeah.
And that's our purpose. Like, that's our job. You know, it's our job as women to separate the wheat from the chaff. It's not good enough in a way to, you know, and I'm not saying we don't make mistakes, because we do, but it's our job to understand that we're going to have an inflow, so we have to separate that. It's nobody else's responsibility. We get to choose who has access, you know? And so vetting is for that purpose. So 3 things, like, just off the top of my head, and of course intuition is a huge part of this, because everything is different. You need to judge each situation as it comes. But effort, consistency, congruence. These are the top 3 for me. Effort, because you can tell what thoughts is behind something. This is how I think. When people present me with something, I don't care what it is. It's about, can I see these 3 things? Effort, and then congruence is when what they say and who they are matches with their behavior. So this is why I tell my clients and people I talk to, it's like, look at the man. Don't just look at little localized, small little, look at his life.
Yeah.
You know, look at who he is. What's he showing you? What is the information being presented to you? It's not enough to just look at what happens when he comes to your house at 3 o'clock or whatever, you know, like look at his
I've got a really
life.
big counteraction though.
Okay, but look at him and, you know, look at everything that's going on surrounding him. What kind of life does he live? How does he show up in his everyday life? That's going to give you clues to the kind of man that he is, and whether you think that you would be safe there, you want to attach yourself to that kind of person. And then something like how much effort and thought is put in behind what he does, and consistency, because that's the true test. Anyone can show effort and congruence for a little while, but can they do it again and again and again? If he's being false, he's going to fall off, you know, because it's too much effort. When you have to think, because it's not your natural way, you're going to stop doing it after a while, because we can't, there's too much going on in our lives, you know, we can't be fake for a long time. We can for a while, but it will start to disintegrate. So look for the consistency alongside those kind of things, and then I think you'll be able to know who it's effortless for, because it's who they actually are and how they actually feel about you, versus who's putting on a show.
And you had a...
I have a massive... Okay, men, when they approach dating, they approach everything from a logical standpoint. Everything is about return on investment.
Yeah.
Within 30 seconds, he's met you. He knows whether you're going to be a friend, lover, or potentially the one. He fills in the puzzle piece as he gets to know you. There's such a thing as frog farming. You know, so many women will go, I met him and he was so nice, and I just don't know what happened. Most of the time, she's frog farmed him.
What's that?
You've turned a man from a prince into a frog.
Oh.
This is a real thing.
Can you really do that as a
Yes. If you eventually make it so hard for him to impress you, he no longer goes... Okay, so for example, when a man says he loves you, that doesn't really mean that much to him.
Yeah.
Don't know reason why. When a man says he cares about you, because what does he have to do to care? He has to spend his energy on you.
It's a doing word.
Yeah, he has to. And that's where we are fundamentally different. Because men will judge you. I know so many men that I've had conversations with, and you can ask them this one question. Have you felt that you've met the one, but you've met them at the wrong time, you let them go? Yes. If he from the beginning, a lot of men will tell you from the beginning, he doesn't want to hurt you, but we don't listen.
Yes, that's true.
We don't listen, and we think that we can change them.
So if he says he doesn't want to hurt you,
then just believe
and
him.
He stays around,
yes,
and then hurts you,
it's your fault.
It's your fault.
Are we
listen, a
taking
man
away
has
some
told
of the
you,
responsibility from
a
men?
man has told you he doesn't want a relationship. From that moment, you go, well, I want a relationship.
Exactly.
I'm going to honour myself.
Yes.
And leave.
Exactly.
Why are women staying?
Exactly.
If someone's not in a time of their life, because at the end of the day, we have to think, we get into relationships and we go, I love him, he's amazing. Men don't think of relationships like that.
Yes.
Men think of, am I in a place of my life where I can spend the energy on trying to contain a feminine? Am I in a place?
That's why they say get them. It's when
After
the
their
man wants
purpose.
to decide that he's now ready.
Because
Before that, forget it.
I totally agree with that.
We untiming. Men, they will go, if I meet the one, I meet the one. A lot of times, men will meet 10 women and go, and all of them could have had potential to be the one.
Yeah.
Like, for example, I like to use the single mother. I'm a single mom, yeah. I know how much energy it takes to contain me and my child and my life. I can sit there and be like, oh, you don't have to take care of me and my child. Like, I can do it. But a man will still come into my life and see how much energy it would take to support me and my child. He sees it in a very logical sense. But the other analogy to it is, if, let's say I met a man and he thought I was the one, and he met me and he's seen how I interacted with my son, he could go, she's a really nice woman. I don't like how she parents. If she parents like that, she'll parent my kids like that. no hard feelings, I'll see you later.
Right.
Men are very logical.
Yes.
Very pragmatic.
Very much so.
But we should, at the same time, for us to honour ourselves, we have to have a strong masculine
Yes.
to go, does it make sense?
Yes.
Absolutely.
Not just all about the
Yeah, you
feeling and
Yeah,
like,
I think
no.
one of the issues I've had with the whole femininity movement is that there is this detachment, or at least it promotes a detachment for women to from their masculine. So it's all about this whole phrase of rest in your feminine energy, and all you have to do is talk like this,
Pure.
And just
that's
purity.
performative.
Just
That's
be pretty,
performative.
and it doesn't really tackle the heart and the meat of the problem, or ourselves as people, because our looks change, our voices change when we're excited, when we're mad. I mean, for me to speak like a lady all the time is just impossible. But it's not really like, you know.
But that's the thing, you know, this is what upsets me a little bit about some of the, like you were saying, the femininity movement. I'm part of it, but one thing I do want to divorce myself from is the idea that femininity only presents itself in a specific way.
Yeah.
And even down to something as silly as like the whole like vintage Chanel aesthetic.
Yeah.
You know, you see it online, it's like
Yeah.
any hashtag quote with femininity, you're going to see some vintage
that,
Chanel.
wearing the tweed,
Yeah, wearing the two things.
Yep.
Yeah, and like as beautiful and gorgeous as it is, you know, for me that doesn't represent the scope of femininity and being a woman. You know, being a woman is about true embodiment of like what the hell it is to understand what this means. It's not about suppressing certain parts of you. It's just about integrating all parts of you.
Feminine is scary.
Yeah, it's
But the thing is, I think
scary.
do you not think that we integrate a Western ideology of what femininity looks like? Because as a black woman, I am not going to be like, you know, your typical white woman femininity. Like the way that their culture works is different. So when I go back home, femininity is that patriarchal, deep, strong energy. And I hate using the word strong with women, but for lack of a better word, when I go back home, and I'm telling you, my aunties, my mom, very feminine, their husbands very masculine. They do have very strong boundaries, but I feel like, to me, that's what femininity is.
But then that's what it is.
Okay.
There's too much thinking and too much trying to posit your idea and this idea. It's like, man, the whole point is that it gives you the freedom to be your true self. It's, for me, what it is about being feminine and embracing this side of me is not pushing away and trying to like deny myself my true desires. I want a masculine man. I like masculinity. I am a certain way naturally. So I tried to suppress that for many years because I was trying to be strong and tough in ways that perhaps weren't the real me. So what I want people to understand is that being feminine, it's nothing to do with fitting a mold. It's about releasing the things that weren't really who you are, but they were there to protect you at a certain time where you needed it. But now you don't need it, just be. And the masculine part of you is part of you, the whole embodiment of what it means to be a woman. You cannot just be feminine. It's just like we have both, and certain you know, situations need to show that. Yeah,
it's about
you cannot flourish in your feminine until you have a element of safety.
If I'm pissed off with my partner,
are you feminine and pissed off?
am I feminine enough to feel safe to kick off on him? If he's done something wrong, am I going to let my inner goddess Kali out? Because you have to remember, Kali Ma was the goddess that used to chop men's heads off.
The destroyer.
She's Kali Ma, she's the dark mother. If a man crosses your boundaries, if he rapes
what do you do?
woman,
Are you submissive then?
The thing is, I think
that's why you have to honour the dark, because every feminine, whether she's toxic or whether she's not, and this is very triggering for the masculine, by the way. Not every masculine is born a god, but every feminine is born a goddess. The reason being is because she is the divine equilibrium. You know, she gives the divine equilibrium.
Yeah,
It's what we are versus what they do.
Yeah, I've engaged in conversations about this, and
It's
it is
like,
very triggering.
Yeah, because if a man leaks himself, he speaks his word, as they say, his semen into a woman, he thinks that he's taking from her. No, Mother Earth has different ideas.
Okay.
She's draining him because he's not worthy enough to ascend.